hit here. And the studio. And there. Okay. We're back somehow? Are we back? We're in a different. Let me see. I am pretty sure we're in a different. Yeah, in a different transmission. Amazing. Don't you love when it dies on you? Ah, what a great experience. And the question is, why? The answer is, because I was getting so based. Obviously not, but we have to inflate our egos a little bit. Stroke that ego. Ah, okay. We are back. Sort of. Sort of. Ay, ay, ay. What a thing. So it actually crashed. Amazing. Who could have seen that coming? The best thing was my internet wasn't even having any issue whatsoever. Was this actually me getting censored live on stream? Amazing. No. It has to have been some kind of flag issue or something. Anyways, I'm back. So, after how long? Like 10 minutes of me doing nothing. Excuse me. The issue is I don't exactly know how much we missed. I think I was on the question of. Let me quickly recapitulate everything. Or wait, before permission, give me a second. In the question, in the third, in the discussion of nothingness, there is something else that also arises, and that is how it seemingly gets compared one thing to the other, being that talking about specifically how somehow simplicity seems to be something that we compare socially to nothingness. I feel like, so far, the only reasonable enough argument to give in this case is nothingness might as well be compared to simplicity, because it is safer to have that, and the argument itself is quite irrational. And in the development of that idea, I think the most sensible way to put this idea in words is the argument gets made that the more we have simple things, the more we possess space for things to be absolute in specificity. And in this case, actually, specificity is a bad thing, because if something is simple and everything is certainly what it is, there is an always growing space for no freedom, so to speak. Nothing can really be much more than what it actually gets to be if things are simple. If we say that the world is simple, we lose out on the beauty of what is the openness of it to all the different things. Let's say like that. I'm not entirely confident that that is the actual explanation. I'm not entirely trusting of that one. I feel like the argument comes more from a side of it simply is faster to say that, yeah, you know what? It will be quicker for us to assume, to believe that, yeah, indeed it is quite problematic to believe that things are as simple than to get to expand in any other way all of those conceptions and all of those ideas, yeah. And so, because this is the case, because this works in this way, because we have gotten ourselves accustomed to such things, we find something also equally true present here, and that is, okay, if things are simple, if the world operates not like that, not in such basic rules, but rather in a complex entanglement of realities and whatnot, I have to assume, I have to suppose, I have to believe that everything gets to have nothing else added on top of themselves. On one hand, on the other one, there is still the issue of, but can I entirely be sure about this? Can I entirely be safe that this is truly the case? Or do I have any way to prove wrong this belief? And that is, I feel like my logically, there is something amazing about simplicity. For something to be simple, it has to be certain. Not logic isn't simple always, but all things that try to be simple have to play by the rules of logic. So, any proper object constructed with the correct tools of simplicity might as well have to assume the qualities of that logicalness, so to speak. There is inside of all of that, there is one issue, and glaringly huge issue, and that is that we do not know, we do not possess, we do not understand how to actually approach the proper values of that sort. That is the eternal philosophical discussion of how do we get to approach the truth? How do we get to possess the truth? How do we get to harness the objectivity that we have to have in our hands in order to talk about different things? We need to be capable of expressing such objectivity, while at the same time this very same objectivity doesn't get to be entirely present almost never, thanks to the way in which we tend to work already nowadays in the world. We're filled to the brim with biases. We are surrounded by preconceptions and assumptions about how things ought to be, how things should never be, and such. So, to reach anything of the realm of simple, of the truly correct realm of simple, we should have in our hands something that can lead us to proper, objective, simple ideas, which again doesn't get to be entirely accessible, since, at least for now, the most basic reality is that we might as well not be capable of doing so. We might as well. That's incredibly simple. we might as well have no way of reaching simplicity. Because after all, simpleness is not so accessible. Simple stuff is not so at our disposal. And since we are already. This is what I am also forgetting about. Ah, this is what I was forgetting in this whole description, sorry. Or in this whole analogy. While we have to work for the sake of simplicity, we are still living in the world in which the contradiction of simplicity equals nothingness exists. So yeah, that is how we are operating most of the time. Also, good evening, Caspian. No, already, already got your other things. Last stream. No. Sorry. Had to make the joke. Had to say something. I would have felt right if I didn't say anything. Sorry. But yeah, I was saying. Also, I am stop. Give me a second. Cannot be. When we are trying to do something simple, we also inhabit a reality in which all the other things that we have established socially as acceptable tell us, remind us constantly that there is nothing good in simpleness. So it is a fight from two ends, I will say, obviously, to get to understand how to create logical and reasonable statements about stuff which gets to be objective enough to truly be simple while being correct, and at the same time, once again, having to fight this other side of the coin in which the discourse is no, simpleness is never great. And I think I understand this. What is all of this? This perhaps is a mixed in bit of analytical philosophy, most certainly. I'm quite sure of that. Because in the end, it has a lot to do with the whole formulaic sense. There is nothing simpler than a formula, like unavoidably. I guess you can find incredibly complex formulas, but something simple, for example, in logic, the whole idea of if A equals B and B equals C, C must equal A. That's simple enough. The reality is that logic, to that sense, is not really something that we operate in most of the time. Consciously, I guess. I am pretty sure that it has a lot to do with intuitiveness, I guess. That's the most amazing part of being a human being. Having access to that more distant knowledge, more absolutely abstract way of understanding reality and such. But I don't know. We also, okay, there is something that we have to talk about now that you're talking about nothing, and that is the specialness of human beings in this our beautiful universe. Because I will actually have to find the source. Let me open YouTube. Because I have to link this one. It will take a while, but this guy, yeah. Let me copy the link. Am I copying it with the timestamp? Yeah, I'm amazing. I linked the timestamp, so like that. There we go. Okay. this chat, where are you? Here, open, here, here. Did it get posted on both sides? Yeah, okay. It also got sent on YouTube, so very great. That thing. What the fuck are you talking about? Great question. I'm talking about the nothingness. How does this fit into the current conversation of nothingness? You'll have to give me a bit, actually. I remember I have been thinking about it lately, and I am quite happy that I didn't know about it from before, because now I can actually explore this same question with a little bit more clarity from my field of knowledge. And there is something that I find surprising in this eternal struggle for qualities of different sorts, for qualifiers, for things to say that are more special and such. There is one of them that can be said is more amazing than any others, and that is the sense of uniqueness. To be unique. Something, you could say it like this. This is what I was feeling like. Uniqueness is the most distant that you can ever be from nothingness. To be dispersed into nothingness is to lose what makes you be you, in a way. So, one of the most significant manners in which we construct methods to reach the complete non-nothingness, in more logical terms. What is the opposite of nothingness? Non-nothingness. So, to reach non-nothingness, to reach, therefore, in this case, uniqueness, we have to possess certain qualities unique to us. And I feel like in that very same conversation, therefore, it enters into play this studio, this analysis, this realization about how human beings seemed, past tense, seemed to actually possess consciousness only them amongst all the other animals, and how now we might have a possibility of expressing an understanding about consciousness within many more species than before, which finally robs us out of the quality of uniqueness. And that, if it were to be true, that might be entirely detrimental. And if it were to be real, that might be entirely pernicious. But I feel like, in my perspective, the issue is the lack of reasoning behind such a way of thinking about notions in general, because in this case, the most important aspect is to get to realize which other possibilities this opens up. But if we decide to instead just focus on the loss of uniqueness, the dissolution into nothingness, into the miasma that is, into the unrecognizable blob of everything else that is the rest. If we were to focus on that, we will be losing quite a lot on the possibility of actually getting to enjoy, to satiate ourselves with even more chances of doing something. I feel like there have to be there has to be a handful of words that we can utilize, but I don't remember them exactly, nor I even know if I exactly know them correctly enough to actually utilize them. But the concept should be something along the lines of, in this travel to possess something truly identifying for us, we get to lose sight of what actually gets to matter at all in all of these other conversations, to the degree to which it even becomes so troublesome because it carries us forward, because it forces us to have to contemplate, to have to nullify all the other things which we can truly call important, which we can truly call necessary, beneficial for us, and similar. So, in this case, this is. I feel like, yeah, I don't entirely believe that we are moving towards nothingness with such discoveries. A reevaluation of our priorities has always been due as humans, and this only keeps moving forward the necessity for such a conversation. It's nothing much and nothing else, I feel like. But yeah, that's something that definitely got to play is somewhere else, I guess, yeah. Now, I don't know. I think I have to admit, first and foremost, what a certain bummer it was to actually see Stream crash. It was so absolutely sudden, by the way. Actually depressing. How did it even happen? How did it even occur? Ay, ay, ay. Life is so full of mysteries. But I don't know. At least we got first and foremost to finish what was going on. So that's the most important thing to be happy about. But I don't know, it's surprising. Sometimes life is entirely surprising, full of things that you would have never expected otherwise, that you would have never even seen coming otherwise. And I don't know, sometimes it's actually quite difficult to get accustomed to do that. Yes, yeah. You can fit this other thing into that very same category. Uncertainty very much falls under the very same category of nothingness. Uncertainty is quite a troublesome thing to have, and it's to be uncertain might as well be the same as having nothing understood. Or at least that is how we have gotten ourselves accustomed to talk out stuff from quite recent times. So we operate under such a logic, even if it isn't entirely correct, even if it isn't entirely acceptable in itself as a true value statement, even if it isn't entirely fine to let it be present like that. We sometimes discussions and conversations of this sort, any kind of this type of argumentation gets to pass as something far less important than what they might actually be. So we let all of them go for the sake of having no need to discuss them otherwise. And in cases like this, when I can really feel like we're missing out on things when we do so, like we're only hurting our own progress when we let that occur, and yeah, it should not be actually so much the case. But we have gotten accustomed to letting them work like that. We have gotten entirely accustomed to sleeping to such states, and it is easier to do that. As always. I don't have to worry so much about things that I don't try to think about. To give in to thoughts, to let thoughts occupy a space in my life, is to have to lose a lot of energy in doing so, in wasting myself in this effort, in this hunt, in this entire degree of conversation, and it's fine. We shall, no matter what, spend our lives on something, so if it is on something not so great, who knows how bad it can actually be, let's say, because to possess certainty about the negativity of certain acts might make us retract from ever committing them. And if we have already gotten accustomed to the performance of such things in our lives, then we might as well expose ourselves to far greater risks if we have to leave them behind, if we have to move to somewhere else, to a new tomorrow without all of those weights, all of those shackles, all of those other things. And yeah, I live. I think I get to understand it a little bit more under this other perspective. If I get to ensure that I exist with these shackles, I shall do so. After all, I already know that the uncertainty of the rest might as well equal nothingness, or so I can at least tell myself, in order to not do much more. And I don't know, human spirit is strange. We are in such strange times. I feel like we are not anymore in the land of opportunities. We are in the world of chances. We are in a... I have had actually this conflicting thought also from quite a while. From quite a long while actually. And I don't entirely know from where it can be identified, but I feel like we have so many opportunities nowadays. Not there is a difference between the softened creature ponders how to cook the sentient one. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Can always they're always in the hunt for something else, and the bigger fishes in the pond, in the sea, I guess, can very much also be doing the same. I don't know. I feel like that might as well be a different conversation to some degree in terms of how strange it actually is that we don't have any more anything else that we haven't found, anything else, anything similar to sentient beings out there somehow. It's the singleness of the human being in the entirety of the space. I feel like it's gonna be interesting once we actually can start traveling the stars. Because on one hand it's true that yeah, it can feel like might be under threat, but on the other hand, it's so strange to see no other expression of life out there. despite all the other attempts. So I think the only thing that I can actually express in that sense is most probably, most certainly, it has to do with our incredibly basic level of technology still. Even if we're moving quite fast, in our own eyes, we're still very much in the primitive times of technology until we can properly get to more developed stages to see if there are any other things out there. But how does this even relate to the question of not question to the whole thought of maybe there is something else trying to kill us? I don't know, I don't think so. I I believe that it is rather quite a dangerous idea. I feel like let me express it like that. We have had that thought be present for such a long time that there are entire cultures that are more than willing to believe such a thing. To the degree to which it could even happen nowadays, that those who finally get to work in the creation of those tools that could allow us to reach those places in space could also abide by those very simple rules to our detriment, aka maybe even forcing us to have troubles with other species of intelligent creatures. But who knows? We diverted quite a lot from where I was, so going back. Point was being something about how we have had so many things, so many considerations, so many hopes to go for and such. And it always is strange. I feel like it's a strange land, so filled with so many uncertainties still. And I don't know, I understand how dangerous it can be to some degree. I don't get how much we still seem to be dominated by irrational fears on a societal level, not on a personal level. I can get that much, but on a societal level, it's like I feel like this is the proper expression of that. The thunderous voices of the masses have been held back by the horrifying images presented to them by those who suddenly got to reach those far more dominant places in the world, not with malevolence, but because it has always been the case that we, dependent on each other, chose people who seemed deserving of trust without understanding still how shackled we remain, each one of us, by our very fears, and in such a way the world in its entirety now agrees that so many other things are so much more dangerous than what they might truly be, simply because the uncertainty of having no situation to be against represents an underlying much bigger problem for our current times. So in a pursuit for at least one answer of any kind, we let those things reign. As they should to some degree. Because otherwise, to disregard all the current things would imply that we will also have to let go of those that are already established precious values of ours. Something like that? Yeah. And I don't know, it's an interesting world, but the interestingness of it all is so enigmatic still, so I think I don't know if I have recently expressed that, but yeah, the world is so incredibly charming, has so many wonderful things in it. It's amazing to see all of it. It's certainly such a surprising view, a rotundly surprising view, while somehow we remain here still having no association with those other things, those other aspects capable of amusement to us. I don't know, I feel like we might be missing out on something thanks to that. It's incredible, it's way too incredible. The future is still far more precious than what we can ever imagine. And I don't know, one of the other things that I was saying was this whole fact about how uncertainty also falls under the realm of nothingness. I get it, it's dangerous to think that uncertainty doesn't equal nothingness. Because you have to live your entire young life to grow up and learn that you need to be moderate, centered in something, willing to commit to one direction, to one goal, to one mission, to one whichever thing. And the uncertainty gets to be only reduced, diminished, discounted in doing so. To try to say that it isn't as well, to try to make it not have such a weight, can throw off the balance in terms of making me far more willing to commit stupidities that could only detract me from any other real goal that I could have possessed ever. And yeah, it's fine, that much is fine, I get it, I understand how dangerous that is, but I am still willing to try something else. I'm still willing to hope for something more. And in that hope, there is some kind of silently brewing realization of other sorts that we still remain quite distant from. We are not there yet. We don't have the capacity to properly talk about, to properly identify, to properly say, yeah, how precious it might actually be to get to work on things, to get to hope for things and such. And it's only sad to see that we have so many things going on, so many aspects still resting there in the future, yet they're still only subjected to the the most basic skeleton kind of them, while everything else could still be found if we could ever drive towards those a little bit more unknown lands of the future. But yeah, I don't know. Life is enigmatic, as it should be, as it deserves to be. So yeah, we will see. Ay, ay, ay. I don't know. I think I don't really have much more to add. That's what I believe right now. So yeah, maybe for today at least we are done. I don't think I have much more to say. We will see what is next. For now, we have reached an end for today. So yeah, it has been quite great, even if there was an absolutely unexplainable hiccup. It was amazing. So yeah. Thanks as always for everything. The time, the patience, the interest, the attention, all of that. It was very, very, very good. It will be until next time. I don't know if it will be tomorrow. I am hoping that we can be here tomorrow, but I don't know. I have to see. And if it isn't, anyway, if it never even happens, still, thanks for everything. It has been wonderful still. So yes, thanks. Please, as always, still. Remember to do your part. Remember to be happy, to keep yourself safe, to rest, to hydrate, to work on things, to hope for stuff, to not fear so much the nothingness, to all of that. For today, we are done. And for today, we can say thanks and bye bye.